Welcome to another episode of Behind the Dreamers. I'm Jennifer Loading, and we are talking to the achievers, the creators, the magic makers, and the dreamers. These are our friends, these are your friends, and they are living the extraordinary. I read a quote today that I thought was just awesome and really depicts my guest today. The only one who can tell you you can't win is you, and you don't have to listen. And that is by Jessica Ennis Hill. Just an awesome quote. I just think, when you guys hear our story today with our guests, this is really going to resonate with some of you. So imagine being told that you can't play a sport as a young student because you have a condition that kind of defines your situation. But you defy the odds and you do it anyway. Then some years later, you carry what you learned as a collegiate athlete into a business to help athletes reach their full potential on the court, in the classroom, and in life. This is essentially what my guest is doing today. And so you guys are going to want to stick around to hear this and her story and how she's making a difference. But before we do that, we have to give a shout out to our sponsors. And so today's episode is brought to you by Walt Mills Photography. If you are a creator needing post-production, consultation, or promotion, Walt Mills is your guy. Whether short films, YouTube films, photography work, or a new headshot, he can help you find a solution to match your needs. To learn more about Walt and his work, go to photosbywalt.com. Additionally, we want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Clow of Upbeat Media Productions. If you are in need of turnkey special event production, Clow is your go-to. You can learn more about him and his work at upbeatmediapro.com. All right, I am super excited to welcome my guest today, Hollie King. She is the founder of A Athletics LLC, a full-service athletic training and college recruiting service that prepares athletes on and off the court. As a youth, Hollie suffered from epilepsy and was told she would never play on a varsity team. However, her love for volleyball was far greater than her condition. And Hollie went on to play both in high school and college before tearing her ACL. With the pursuit to motivate and encourage others to love the sport as much as she does, Hollie brings high energy and enthusiasm to her teams, always bringing out the best in her players. In addition to running her business, she's also a head coach at a school here in Dallas. And so we want to welcome Hollie to the show. Hollie, super excited to have you here today.
Hi. Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
This is going to be fun. I love talking to you guys about your stories. Yeah, it's going to be great. So I want to start off a little bit. I kind of want to talk about what you're doing. And we kind of, this podcast is all about what you do, why you do it, the story, the background story, because we really want to dive into how you got to where you are. But I want to start off first by talking about your business, what you're doing with this business and how you're helping athletes.
Okay, yeah. So I'm working, I have my private lessons and then I have my group sessions. But really with the private lessons, I'm just working with them one-on-one, trying to find out what works for them, get them comfortable on the court, get all those nerves out. It's really so rewarding watching the younger ones, especially like from ages like 8 to 10, because once they get that serve over, it's just like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like, I didn't think I could do it. But, and then, with the older ones, they're getting to that stage where they're about to be off to getting ready to go to college and making those life decisions. And I'm working with them and guiding them in the right direction and trying to give them and figure out their path of which way they want to go, because college is confusing and intimidating in itself. And there's so many things that go into college, let alone just college, just academics. But then when you put a sport into it, it gets kind of confusing and stuff. So, I'm just helping them and guiding them. And especially with the parents, some parents are educated on what all goes into the recruiting process. And I just want to be able to be there and work one-on-one with them to get them to their full potential and the right spot where they need to be.
Yeah. And as a parent, I shared with you that, my two oldest daughters went off, right? But just I think I shared with you, my middle one was actually a cross country runner. And so we had to go through some of that recruiting process. It wasn't a big deal for her because she picked a school very, very early on, but there is definitely a process going into that. And they get, these coaches go out, and in these sports, they're looking at these kids very early on in the process, right? And you have to wait till a certain time before they can actually communicate with you, and so there is kind of this whole process that goes into these sports. And so, having been through that yourself, kind of how that lays out for these guys.
Exactly. And, coaches are already looking at girls in middle school, and that's just like mind blowing to me, because I'm like, they're not even thinking about college yet. They're thinking about, just having fun as they're still kids, And so it's really just being able to educate those parents. Like, you got to start now, because if you start in your junior year and your senior year, like, there's this chance, like, you might miss out on, like, you have to really start educating yourself and getting everything together, signing up for these camps and showcases and stuff, just so you can be seen by college coaches. Because when COVID happened, they let their seniors on an extra year, and, the extra eligibility. And so now all those seniors are going away, and they're like, well, all their juniors and sophomores are moving up. And so they're not even looking for, I guess, seniors in high school right now. They're just looking for younger for the future. So they're already planning out ahead of time.
Wow. Yeah, I forgot about that. You're right, because there was that lapse there where everything shut down, and we had those kids that were seniors. I was, my kids, my middle one was in her second year of college, cross country and track training, when they shut everything down. And my youngest was still a junior in high school. So we were not quite in that group that was right there, but I had a lot of friends that had kids that were in that, and especially for those athletes who had that. It was a hard time, definitely a hard time for sure. But I think what you're doing is an awesome, needed thing, because I do think a lot of parents don't. We didn't know. We didn't know going into that process how to navigate that whole recruiting experience. And I just know my daughter was getting letters like continually. And it's like, which one of these do we not look at,
Right. And then it's like, you might like the school because of the sport, and they have a good athletic program, and they have a position for you, but they don't have what you need academically. Like, you could be wanting to go to school for criminal justice, but if this school doesn't have it, what's the point of playing a sport? You're just going to waste those years on that. So you really need to tie in those together and make it a full package when you're looking for the right college.
Yeah, this is good. This is good. And yes, because my daughter, she was wanting to go into forensic, and that was, to match up forensics with cross country. How do you find, the school you want to go to that has the sport they're playing, whether it's a high level, the team, but then also match it with your studies and find that blend, and you're right. They don't all offer the same things. So good point on that. So maybe any advice that you would offer somebody, maybe you have a parent out there right now that has a kid, you mentioned being prepared younger, making sure that you're looking now, because they are looking, but anything else maybe that you would advise to somebody, say, who has a child right now that's in a sport and they're looking maybe to go on to that next step?
Schedule a lot of college campus meetings. You really want to go and have a lot of visits, because you need to find that college that you're going to fit in. Like, every college has a different culture. Like, you're not going to fit in. It's not for you. Not every culture is for you. So you have to find a college where you fit in and feel comfortable and feel like home. Like, you'll know, you don't want to choose the first college you go visit. You're like, oh my gosh, this is such a cool college. I can't wait to have all the parties and meet all friends. And then it's like, but that's only the first one. Like, I visited a couple of colleges, and I really fell in love with Baylor, just because the culture is just something different about it, their values and all that stuff. And I didn't play college there. I went to a coaching clinic to go get some more education on coaching. And I just love the atmosphere of Baylor and what their core values are. But also, some more advice is, sign up for the camps, talk to coaches personally, like the student themselves. The parents can talk for you all day long, but the coaches want to hear from you, your actual self, because it's more personal. They get to know who you are. And also with recruiting, when coaches come out to watch you play, they're also recruiting your family. Even though it sucks and it's sad because you could be completely two different people, but they're also watching how your family reacts in the crowd and how they present themselves and represent you on the court. Because if they're all loud and obnoxious and just going all out and just rude, like, they're not going to recruit you. They're just going to look right past you, and it hurts your student in the long run. Also, sign up for all the college programs and stuff. That way you can get recognized. You can start getting letters in the mail. And yeah, just really connect with the coaches personally on a personal level. Send emails, and proper emails, not just like, and make sure you have a good email. You don't want to be like hot girl 13 you want it to come professional. I know these students have a couple of strange ones, but yeah, make it professional and reach out personally and stuff like that.
That's good. The email thing I think is so important. And I think that extends across everything you do, like business, right? Resumes, everything, because I talk about this in business even, there's like every now and then you get these weird emails and you're like, do I really want to even, what do I do with that? You're like, what do I do with that? Right? That is so important. It's so important. I think that's so good. But I want to say this to you. The thing that I think resonates with me, or I guess what you're doing that resonates with me. Yes, I think, that I love what you're doing with helping these kids transition and to know what to do going into this space. But I really think the thing I like is the part where you said, off the court. The message I'm getting here is that you're helping them be better human beings off the court. Because as you said a minute ago, your family's an extension of you, right? And they don't totally define you, but in this stage, they're kind of there, right? Like they're in that process. But as you know, anytime we're doing this, it really should always be about how are we developing as a human being, right? And this is so important. You said a lot of things there about having, a good email, and they want to hear from you. Those are leadership skills, right? Like you being able to talk to a prospective coach. That's a leadership skill, right? Like mom and dad can't do that for you. So I think the thing that I really like about what you're doing is that it's not just about what's happening on the court. It's about what's happening off the court.
Right.
Like
I, when I was going through the process of going through schools and stuff, I didn't have any guidance. My mom, she didn't know how to do any of that. And so it's really important to me to just be a motivator and young advocate to these girls to help them, like, be their voice, but teach them how to have their own voice when they're going through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see your shirt that you have on, your brand, your logo shirt there. It looks awesome. Very cool. Good stuff. Well, I kind of want to segue into this because as I mentioned early on in the show, we're all about the journey here. We're about what you're doing, how you're making a difference, but also how you arrived at this place, right? Because I think it's just as important to know why we do what we do, like, right? And you mentioned that you didn't know in the process and a lot of athletes, we don't, even as parents, we don't know that process, right? It's like parenthood. There's no manual for parenthood, right? Like you just get into it, you figure it out. And then you're like, hey, I know this now. I can tell you what to do. Right. So I think it's about the journey. And as you know, in our entrepreneurial lives, nothing's really linear, right? It's always nonlinear. It changes and it evolves, and we evolve as human beings. And so when you were growing up, we talked off camera that you had early on suffered with epilepsy and you were wanting to play sports. And that was kind of a tough thing because you were told that you weren't going to be able to really do that because of the condition. So talk us through that a little bit, how that came about for you and how you kind of busted through that.
Right. So I remember having my first seizure when I was like 5 years old, and it was in my sleep, and I was just like, I woke up feeling confused, and I was rushed to the ER. I remember this doctor, he tried to make it fun for me. He like rushed me down the hallway, and, you know, I didn't leave there with any answers. I just, went through life having seizures. They said it was caused by stress. I'm like, what 5-year-old what's there to stress about? Playing with Barbies at that age and dirt and so I continue, just keep going, and I'd have an episode every once in a while. Usually when I get sick or stressed out or like, really overdo my body. Like, I started playing sports. I was always involved in sport. My first sport was drill team, and then I went into cheer and taekwondo, and then I got into fast forward to middle school. I was in athletics, and we had to do a sport, at least try out for a sport. So we're in this big group, and my coach was like, "You're going to play volleyball," and I'm like, I don't know about that. I was shy, and I just didn't think I could do an intense sport like that. But she made me anyways. I ended up making the B team for 7th grade. That was like my first time touching a volleyball. And it was difficult with my epilepsy just to be able to participate in certain things, because I would have dizzy spells during the day, and I would get over exhausted. I would turn purple, and they would think I was had high blood pressure, or I was gonna pass out. But every game I would turn purple, and I'm like, it's just because I worked hard and I pushed, and and I think part of that was it caused the seizures in a way, because I was over exhausted and I was just pushing my body. I didn't stop. I just kept going. There was no limit for me, but I just kept pushing through it. The really thing that did hurt a little bit was my learning disability with that was caused from epilepsy. I didn't really have dyslexia or anything. I just couldn't comprehend as well. It took me learning things in a different way. I was more hands-on. You could tell me something all day and I wouldn't know. I couldn't tell you, but if you show me, I could do it. And I just kept going, and I never gave up. And that's what brought me to volleyball.
Isn't that awesome? It's awesome. And now you're a head coach, right? Coaching with the sport that you love.
Yes, I coach at Alcuin. It's rated one of the best private schools in Dallas. I coach 5th grade girls. I have 10 of them, and they're such a joy to be around. They never stop going. They have so much energy, and they're doing awesome this season, and I'm so proud of them.
That's awesome. And I bet you are an inspiration to them too, just knowing, and maybe they don't all know your story, but, I think sometimes our growth comes from going through, I always say our growth comes from going through those, challenges in our life. And unfortunately you had to have some of that, and somebody tell you that you can't do something to defy the odds and go forward and say, hey, I am going to do this. And now I'm going to use the skills that I learned in that to help other students and athletes be amazing on and off the court, right?
Right. And I just try to teach my girls, to have integrity on and off the court. And that's really big with me. They're chanting and yelling and stuff. And I'm like, well, y'all stop when the other team, goes to serve, because you wouldn't want them to do it to them. And they're like, but they're doing, I'm like, but we're different. We're going to do this our way, it's out of respect, just teaching them small things like that, just to respect others. And, I was told I wouldn't even, by my middle school coach, Coach Manning, I wasn't even told I would make it to high school. And, I believed her, because, high school is intimidating to play a sport. And I remember, I tried out. I went for it anyways, and I made the freshman C team. And I remember my coach, Coach Smith, he was the freshman volleyball coach. He was like, it's not because you're not good enough. It's because, I need good players on each team. And you work hard, you listen, you're coachable. and that's what I need on my team. And I always tell my girls that, like, even, because my youngers, they see the older ones and they're like, wow, I want to be that. I want to do that. Like, why am I not on the 6th grade team or something? And I'm like, just keep working at it, keep pushing. Like, you'll get there. Like, as long as you work hard, you listen, and you just keep working hard, and you'll eventually get there, And that's super big to me because I always, struggled, and I was in there. I'd be drenched in sweat, purple, my whole body be purple. Like, I really worked at it, and it got me to where I am today, like on and off the court as a person. Like, I never gave up. And despite people telling me I couldn't do it, or I wasn't good enough or fast enough, or, and then around 14, like, I was cleared from seizures. Like, they said they never gave me a reason why I had them. They just went away. And, I just feel like everything happens for a reason.
It does. And you said some really good things that I think would be important advice. And maybe this is what we say here. What important advice do you lend? You said the being coachable, the learning, and working hard. I think these are 3 important things, but they not only extend to athletes, because I have, I told you off, I love a good story. I loved an overcoming story because I've had my own. I've had several of them, and I respect and admire people that have had to walk through a struggle in their life and then be able to use that struggle to teach them something and find a way that they can turn that story into a victory to serve other people. Right. But I think the key thing here is that, in order to have success, you've got to have some ability to be coachable on some level. You've got to be willing to learn, and you've got to be willing to work hard, right? And that transfers even into entrepreneurship, being an entrepreneur. I feel like there are direct relationship, to being an athlete, because I've run marathons, so I understand being an athlete, right? There is definitely a correlation between that and being an entrepreneur. Would you not agree?
Exactly. And I feel like, when I say like the girls are watching the older girls and they want to be that, I'm like, fall in love with your journey. Like, your journey is what's going to make you special. It's going to make your story. Like, just fall in love with being yourself, being true to yourself, and not pleasing other people. Like, if I could give advice to my younger self, I wouldn't listen to anybody. I would, live life for me, because at the end of the day, I'm all that I have,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great advice. Great advice. So I kind of want to segue a little more into this entrepreneur journey, because you started this business brand new this year in 2022, coming out of the pandemic, and you started a business. So congratulations to you, because I know it's been hard and a lot of businesses have struggled with this. And so it's fun to see, you guys start these things, with passion and drive and all of that stuff. And so I want you to share with us what has been the biggest challenge you've had to overcome with getting this business up and running?
Okay. So about, let's say, in 2019, well, after I started college and I tore my ACL, I had, got with a boy, and I was young in love. And so, and I knew I had forgot about college and all this stuff. I let it fall off the back burner. And I knew I wasn't at my full potential to go back and play volleyball. And because it hurt, not being able to play after tearing my ACL and stuff. So I started failing classes on purpose, and I went off with this boy, and we ended up having 2 children. My son's 8 now, and my daughter is 5. And so fast forward 2019, we eventually get married, and I was taking care of a guy that wanted to be a stay-at-home dad because he was depressed, but not with the kids. The kids were still going to daycare, and I was working 60 plus hours a week at Albertsons as a produce manager. And I was stressing myself out. Stress is literally killing me. I was losing weight. I wasn't eating. My hair was falling out and I had bags under my eyes. And, I was providing for him, but I couldn't even provide for like myself at times. And, one day I'm like, something has to give. Like, I'm just tired and I shouldn't have to work this hard. And I know I have so much potential. And like, I had to leave behind what really was important to me, which is volleyball. And so like 2020 came around, I filed for divorce. And during that time, it was, really difficult because I just felt so like, lost and having to deal with that and fighting for the kids. Like, I never had to fight for the kids because, I'm a good mother and, I take care of my kids and I have full custody of my children but something was just like, I finally got with my fiance now and, he's given me like all the support in the world. And that's what I truly was missing is just support from somebody just motivate me and tell me I can do it and that I was good enough. And so 2020, I got divorced. I filed for the divorce, and then finally, March 2022, I get divorced. So after going through that, I started going to school at Remington College for my medical certification, and I finished in June of 2022. And then a month before that, I got accepted to Baylor University. And I started my certification for K through 12 in physical education. And I finally just finished that in August of this year. So super excited about that. And then before that, in June, in June, I started applying for schools because my fiance was like, "What do you want to do?" And I'm like, "I want volleyball back in my life. I want to coach, and, he just gave me the support for it. And I couldn't be more grateful for that because in just this past year, I've changed my life completely around like a 180 and I just didn't give up. And that's where it's got me to this opportunity today. I accepted the position for Alcuin in June. And in the summer, I started doing private lessons and stuff. And then, with coaching, I'm like, I could, do private lessons and I could help these girls get into college. And, I just put it in together and then coming up with a name, I'm like, what sounds good? I Googled everything and I'm like, I don't know. Like, let's see. I'm like, volleyball world or something like that. And then my fiance was like, what about A Athletics? I'm like, yes, I love that name. Like, that's perfect. He's like, the first letter in the alphabet is A, and that's usually what pops up on Google, gets people looking at it and stuff. And I'm like, I love that. Like, A+, it's like, you can do so much with that. Like, it seems like it's ever ending. Like, I don't know. Like, I want to do more sports other than volleyball. I want to be able to help all student athletes eventually, but volleyball is my main sport that I'll be doing. But yeah, it's like I'm finally at this point in my life after going through all that. Like, just 2 years ago, I was like working 60 plus hours a week. Now I'm able to stay at home with my kids. They're in school now, but I'm able to go to all events. I make my own schedule. I'm living in Rockwell, Texas. And it's just been a complete 180. So
yeah,
all I needed
sounds
was
like I was going to say, it sounded like your biggest challenge was letting go to take something new on, because I have to talk about when I'm working with people, in order to grow, right? We have to let go of something else,
Right.
right? And a lot of times that something else becomes sort of like a security blanket for us, right? Like that's all we really know. And even if it's toxic or it's wrong, it's still security for us, right? And so that's the hard part, is letting that go. So it sounds to me like, yeah, you had to let go and clean some things up and have this growth to be able to move into this next phase of your life, which is operating this business and living at your full potential. So congratulations to you. That's
Thank
awesome
you.
in itself. It's awesome. So I think, yeah, you said a lot of really good things here. I think, maybe from an entrepreneur perspective, starting your business, I think you've kind of touched upon this in various ways, but any advice that you would offer maybe to somebody that's wanting to start a business, anything that you feel like has been like a learning thing for you?
Just go out there and fail like over and over, because you just got to find out what works for you. And it's okay to fail, because if you don't fail, you're not really doing, like, just try different things, be courageous, go out there, be spontaneous, do stuff that makes you uncomfortable, and also like meet people that don't look like you, or don't that you wouldn't think you would be friends with or whatever, because they might have something advice for you that could help you in the long run.
That's a good point. It's a good point. I always say that about why I like Stitch Fix, because they send me outfits that I would not pick for myself, right?
Yeah.
So why would you not talk to different people, right? Because you can learn different things from different people that you wouldn't normally, even like in business, I always say you need to get out of your niche and like meet people in other, markets, because sometimes they have something that maybe it's not going to have like a direct impact, but they might lead you to somebody that you need to know, or offer you an idea that you may not have thought of. So yeah, good advice. Good advice. So you have a big event coming up. You mentioned it to me. You want to share with us what this is that's coming up?
Yeah, so it's going to be a volleyball showcase event. It's going to be in Rockwall, Texas at the Indoor Sports World. It's just a chance for student volleyball athletes. If you're considering pursuing volleyball in college, this is for you. It's a chance to showcase your skills in front of college coaches. There's going to be D1, D2, D3, junior colleges, NAIA institutions, all there. And not only are they going to be like helping you on and off the court, giving you advice, they're just going to be there. They're also going to be there evaluating you, but they are going to be giving you advice and like one-on-one sessions if that's something you need.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, this has been good. Listen, I want to do some fun questions for you. These are like, you can just like sit back and relax, because this is like no stress questions. Some of my favorite part of the show, because we get to know you kind of as a human now outside of the business. But they're supposed to be rapid fire. And I say that because they're supposed to be short. They're not always. We try. Anyways. All right. So let's do this. I want to start off with favorite. Let's do this. No. What's your first concert you ever attended?
It was Jessica Simpson, and I never even heard her music before. And then I showed my mom, and my cousin and aunt brought me, and I was like, "What kind of music is that?" And then I ended up loving it. Like I've been a fan since.
Awesome. I've never had anybody say that one. This is one of my favorite questions, because I find out some funny things about people. I'm like, I never heard it. I'm like, I haven't known anybody that's seen that one. So, all right. Let's do favorite guilty pleasure food.
I love me some Italian food. Like, what is it? It's called vodka sauce, but I call it pink sauce. And it's amazing. Like, it's a marinara and Alfredo mixed together. It's to die for.
Awesome. All right. I was trying to think. Do you have a favorite book maybe that you've read that's helped you along your journey?
Let's see. No. I mean, I read this one book in high school that it's always stuck with me since I was till now. It was called Forged by Fire. And it was just like this kid that was like crying for help, and nobody was listening to him. And it just kind of close to home to me because I felt like I never, being heard, but yeah.
Yeah. And as humans, we want to be heard, right? We want, that's important to all of us. We all want to be heard, right? So no, I think that's good. That's a good book. I love asking that question because sometimes like I haven't heard of that book, and sometimes somebody will pick up on it. They may want to read that or whatever. So thanks for sharing. All right. Try to think one more question. Amazon cart. What's in your Amazon cart?
Probably nothing.
Nothing?
I'm not a big Amazon person.
Not a big Amazon. I ask that question of everybody. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody that says they're not. We are like diehard Amazon people over here. Like almost every day, I have something I need, and I'm like, just order it on Amazon. It'll be here tomorrow.
No, that's my fiance. He's the one that always has something come to the house. It's like complete opposite. Like he loves Target and all that, and I'm the one that doesn't even go shopping.
Yeah, well, that's why I do Amazon, because I don't like to shop either. And for me, that's easy because then I can just be like, hey, we need this. Let me go on Amazon. We need this. You know what I mean? I don't even do like grocery shopping. We order our groceries online and go pick them up. We don't even go in the grocery store.
Me and my daughter, we like to go to Kroger's because she likes little mini carts, and she thinks she's just the grown little thing.
Yeah.
Right?
That's fun. That's fun. Well, this has been amazing. I've enjoyed talking to you. Congratulations on your success. I'm glad that the epilepsy has settled down and you're able to live freely from that, because I know people that suffer from it, and it is a difficult condition to deal with. So I'm glad that you're able to move, being able to move past that. And what you're doing, with these athletes, I think is important too, helping them, like I said, be better human beings, on and off the court. If our audience, if this resonates with somebody, I know several of them are going to have kids out there, right? But if this resonates, how do they find out about you and get in touch with you?
You can email me at coachhollie13@gmail.com. It's HOLLIE. And I'll be available. I'm always checking emails, so just give me an email and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Awesome. So and to our audience, yes, if you're in that space where you've got, a question about entrepreneurship, definitely you can reach out to Hollie. But if you have a child that's in the space of playing sports and looking to go on to that next level, Hollie would be a great resource to get you in the right direction, right?
Yes.
So thank you, Hollie, for sharing with our audience. We so appreciate you. I do want to say to our listeners, of course, if you enjoy our show, please be sure you give us a rating both on iTunes and Facebook, because we cannot do this without you, and hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. We want to leave you with a final thought. It's the same thought I say every episode. In order to live the extraordinary, you must start. And every start begins with a decision. You guys take care, be safe, and be kind to one another. We will see you next time.